Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing it to the news on top stories. I am Oyin Obala. Let's begin. Journalists play an essential role in nurturing and upholding democratic governance. They deserve every necessary protection. These are the words of UNESCO's official Andre Azoulay. Yet, in La Republic de Cameroon, this protection is alarmingly absent, where honest journalists are thrown to the wolves and denied justice. In La Republic de Cameroon, press freedom is more myth than reality. Journalists face routine intimidation, arrest, and violent reprisals simply for reporting on issues deemed sensitive, ranking 134th globally in press freedom. La Republic de Cameroon has earned a troubling reputation as one of the world's most dangerous places for reporters who risk arbitrary detention, torture, and even death. This hostile environment silences critical voices and impels everyone seeking to expose the truth. Tonight, we bring into focus the victimization of one young journalist who is 22 years old, a student known as Bruno Maimo, who was detained while simply doing his job. Stay with us for the full story and more on the Prime Headlines.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied. Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless, and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republic has succeeded. This is about Amazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia, donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Here are the prime headlines. Fire incident at My 7 Motorpark leaves trail of destruction once again. Tonight on Undaunted, we'll look at the conflict as it escalates in Sang village over the grazing rights, and that, of course, is the Mbeseha. A student journalist in Colonial Dungeon for reporting on women's protest in Biya. Tonight as well, we'll take a look at the new relations, old questions, asking can Morocco's partnership with France rewrite colonial legacies? Well, you'll watch the report tonight to find the answers. While on the foreign scene, Trump unveils the most extreme closing argument in modern presidential history. Now let's get the news in full briefings. A long seeming dispute between residents of Sang village and Mbeseha headers has reached a boiling point. The Mbeseha who arrived in the village just a few months ago are demanding access to land for cattle grazing, forcing families who have lived there for generations to consider vacating their properties. Their tensions began escalating weeks ago, with reports of increased attacks by the Mbeseha. Local authorities attempted to address the issue through a meeting aimed to find a peaceful resolution. However, the situation has only deteriorated. Residents are growing increasingly concerned about the Mbeseha's disregard for authority and legal boundaries. The headers' actions have led to, so far, we've recorded loss of livelihood for local farmers, destruction of crops and properties. Fear of violence and intimidations is on the increase. The community is calling for urgent intervention from regional authorities to protect their rights and prevent further escalation of grazing rights and land ownership, displacement of long-standing residents, impunity and disregard for authorities, and economic and social impacts on local communities. That dialogue between Mbeseha headers and local residents should begin to yield fruits. Establishment of designated grazing areas, enforcement of existing laws and regulations. The situation in Sang village highlights the need for effective conflict resolution mechanisms and protection of local communities' rights. Now, when we talk about that dialogue, we mean a particular dialogue we here on Undaunted brought out few weeks back, where the authorities sent back La Republic to Cameroon were trying to investigate into the matter of the open grazing by the Mbeseha. Remember, we spoke here, and Barrister Mbeseha did tell us that that dialogue is just a mere meeting. He doubts if anything tangible would come out of it. And just few weeks after, they are back on track. They are back to action. They are back to destroy lives. And just like he said the last time, let's hear what Barrister Mbeseha has to say this time around. Barrister Mbeseha, you're welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
Oh
Back to the
yes,
same
you remember this conversation, right? And you did say that you are not sure that a tangible result would come out of that particular meeting or commission, as they called it. Just few weeks in, and we have another major attack. Tell me what you think.
Yes, that's what I said, and that's what I'm insisting. You see, the farmer grazier issue did not start today. Those communities have been living there forever. And as a matter of fact, the farmer grazier issue is not limited to Kambe, Donga Mandun. They have the farmer grazier issue in other parts of Isuko, Cameroon. Why is this one going on at this stage, unabated? I said here, and I repeat here, it is something orchestrated by government to take advantage of the situation. Because before 2016, that this program started to boil, in fact, before 1961, and I don't know, before 1954, the farmers have been living there with the cattle rearers. They have not been engaging in fights, they have been having quarrels, but not to the extent of killing others. And so, why are they doing this now? Why is the government so incapable of doing what is very, very simple to do? After the problem is settled, or you don't settle it, it is impossible for the bureaus, the cattle rearers, to think that they can drive away the other community entirely. They will never. Neither can the other community drive them entirely. They will not, because that's their natural habitat. And therefore, the two communities must manage that space. How they manage them is not within themselves, it's within the authority called government. Call it the president who lives in Dongamantu in the name of the prefect and the sous-prefects. I said it was the simplest thing to do. You demarcate an area for the farmers. Even among the farmers, you demarcate their individual farms. Even among the cattle rearers, you demarcate everybody's fence. And he or she will rear his or her cattle or sheep within their own space. And you show them how to feed them. Because the whole idea is to get grass for the cows to eat. And there's no grass there. They go and eat people's cocoyam, they eat cassava. Those are crops for farmers who serve as food for cattle and other animals. So why are they not doing it? It's not because they don't know it. If they didn't know it, it doesn't take even 6 months to learn it. In fact, they can learn it from me. I can tell them what grass to grow there just on TV. I can tell them to take a meter, go measure the land, several meters for each person. That's something anybody can do. But they will not do it because they're exploiting it. And behind that, I don't live there, but behind that, you hear the story of Dampulo and others who are CPDM people who have reached their position to acquire acres upon acres of land. They have become rangers, not cattle raiders, they become rangers. And they go unpunished because they belong to the ruling clique. And therefore, that problem would continue until we come back to West Cameroon. With the West Cameroon government, Southern Cameroon government, and Brazilian government, that problem would resolve within hours. And so they are keeping it for distraction. Again, why did they do it? Who is stronger? Is it the Dio, the sous-prefect, or Ngala Gerard, the MP from there, and other senators? The King Kemede, I think he comes from there. So it's a problem that has become a political problem with politicians unwilling to find solutions to the simplest possible problem. People will lose their lives. And in that sense, again, I've said it before, the government has exploited them. They have gotten the bureaus, armed them to kill other people in the name of vigilante. They've allowed them. What they're doing now, you don't even know where the guns come from. The bureaus who were recruited and given arms to go to Ngarabu never returned the arms to the army. They said it themselves. They said they investigated the matter. Where are the criminals? We don't know where they are. Where are the guns they gave them? We don't know where they are. This is the official version. So we're not inventing something to blackmail them. We're giving their own version to hold them accountable. And so the farmer grazer issue must be resolved because the two communities must live together. They will live together. They have been living together and they will continue to live together until such a responsible government comes and say it is our responsibility to bring law and order. Over to you.
Yes, please. I just want to find out. Probably you could do us the honors of explaining in depthly how much strength do these borrowers have to want to chase out a people who have been residing in a particular place for a long time? How much strength do they have? How much capacity? How much control do they have that they can chase out a people? What is the strength of their abilities so far?
Now, by themselves, they are not going to be stronger physically than the farmers. Because by themselves, the strength they will have will be a den gone. And their cattle rearers, they will have spears. The other people who are called the farmers will probably they hunt. They will have hunting guns. So they will not be able to eliminate them. They can only do what they are doing when they have superior arms, AK-47s, that will outpower the other people. Otherwise, they will not be killing the farmers with impunity. The farmer will not run away. They will stand up in revenge. And there will be a community fight where both sides will suffer the injuries. As of now, if the other community is running away, is being killed without resistance, what that would imply that they have superior weaponry. Where does it come from? I don't know. But as I said, I suspect they are armed by the government. They are exploiting the situation that exists there for their political advantage. Because what do? The poor people who are running away go to the duo, pleading to the duo. In fact, they are pleading to President Paul Biya. Tell the president to come and help us because he's the personal representative of the president. Mr. Governor, can they go and tell your master, the president, to come and help us? So if any solution were ever to come up, they will clap hands to the regime in Yaoundé. They will thank the CPDM for doing them a favor, like making peace where problem did not even need to exist. So I think it will have any strength better than their opponents. I suspect their weaponry is superior. And it cannot just be spears that they use in hunting, cannot just be den guns that they use in killing birds. That's the best answer I can have about that.
All right. Well, we'll definitely continue to follow up with this and see what happens. Especially, I think I am most interested in that particular commission because I mean, you said something that I'm actually looking out for. But of course, we'll definitely follow up with that report. But moving on to something very sad, a fire incident continues to be on the rise in Ambazonian country. Well, at my 17 Motorpark, well, it has left trails of destruction. Fire incidents have become rampant in Ambazonia with the latest occurrence at my 17 Motorpark in Boyer. Earlier this year, similar blazes ravaged Bamenda markets, fruit markets, and other areas, causing immense hardships for businesswomen. A devastating fire swept through the Mine 17 Motorpark in Boyer on the 29th of October 2024, leaving 4 shops empty and their contents severely damaged. The blaze began around 1 a.m. with locals and emergency responders struggling to contain it until 3 a.m. Well, according to reports, shops 9, 10, 11, and 12, situated at the east wing of the park, were the ones affected. Material damages are estimated to be in the millions, but the cause of the fire remains unknown. This incident is a significant blow to the local business community, and investigations, they say, are likely to be underway to determine the fire origin. For those unfamiliar with Boyer, is the headquarters of the Southern Cameroons. The area is known for its bustling markets and commercial activities. Incidents like this fire highlights the importance of emergency preparedness and response measures in such bustling areas. Our concern is the fact that it's a fire. Fire on the rise, fire everywhere, fire every day. Barrister Mbeseha, can this be a natural occurrence, just like we hope it is, but we believe it's likely not? What's your thoughts?
No, fires are natural, are not natural. Fires are not natural. The fires are things that are foreseeable in every community, in a big city. As the cities grow, the city managers foresee, they foresee fire. It could be an accident, anything, but fire are foreseeable. And because they are foreseeable, you provide for them. You provide measures to fight the fire. We'll talk about that one today. I think last week there was one, still in Boya there. Somewhere in Moliko, in Open Dongo. When you recall, what do people do? People are running to look for buckets of water, where there's no water in the first place, to put it out. Boya, that I know, is not less than 150,000 people. My 17 that you're talking about is about 3-4 miles from Motengene. In Motengene, Antico combined with Boya will be 150, 200,000 people. Some years back, they attempted to build a fire brigade in Motengene. They call it Bimo Market on road to Limbe. They requisition land, put it there, and today trees are growing there. There be nothing there. Is it the fire department that is above them? Certainly not. Where's the fire department? Buy a fire truck. That thing will not cost up to 100 million. And that's all. You need to put gas there, put water there, blow out the fire when it comes. From that place to Motengene, if the fire brigade was in Motengene, we just 3 miles, 4 miles. They would take out and put out the fire. But they did not do it. They have not done it. They did not do it. They have not done it forever since 1961. Why? Is it because they lack the money? I've said no. This is the fire department, which is supposed to be in Motengene. Is there one in Limbe? There was one there, which did not even work. That's why you find that there was a fire that burned down the whole Sonara, the headquarters of all the money they steal. So it is not a lack of money. It is their unwillingness to do anything that will benefit Boya. What they know was the capital of Cameroon. What they know, as per Mr. Paul Biya, was the capital of West Cameroon. What they know is the capital of Amazonia. Why this neglect? From Boya to Limbe to Kumba and other to Mamfe in the whole southwest, there is no fire brigade there. They just need to put a vehicle. There's a big river flowing in Motengene there. You put the water into the car, to the truck, drive there and put out the fire. They are not doing it because they have no plans to do it. It does not matter to them how many people die. Those people in my 17 are lucky. Yeah, they lost property, but luckily they didn't lose any lives. And so it's a question for us to review. It's a question for any reasonable person in Boya in particular and in Amazonia in general. Why are we going through this? Where is all the money? Minus the oil. Where are the oil taxes going to? This FACO. Where is all the money they are getting from the CDC going to? That they cannot buy a fire truck. You need 2 trucks that will constitute a fire brigade. If you spend 200 million for that thing, it will remain for the next 20 years because it is not running on the road carrying passengers. After 1 fire or 2 fires in a year, it starts there. But they are not doing it again, as I've said, because they don't want to do anything. They don't want to invest their money in Amazonia. They don't want to protect us. If the day we set foot in Boya, I'm sure there will be as many firefighting brigades as we have big cities. It would not cost to the taxpayer because that is doable and it should be done. Over to you.
Oh, well, we just hope that it should be done. Oh, well, we get into something very, very sensitive. While professional journalists are under attack and losing their lives on a regular basis, have we ever thought about the young journalists who are in mass communications or school of journalism, as the case may be? While in La Republic de Cameroon, freedom of the press remains more of an ideal than a reality, with journalists constantly facing intimidation, arrest, and violence when attempting to report on sensitive issues. The country has developed a reputation as one of the worst places in the world for journalists, ranking 134th globally in press freedom. This grim status is due to routine harassment, arbitrary detention, and even physical brutality inflicted on journalists by government and security forces. Covering protests of dissenting voices in La Republic de Cameroon can be perilous, even often resulting in jail time. Not just jail time, torture, or worse for reporters. This hostile environment continues to silence critical voices, leading to cases like that of Guy Bruno Maimo, a young journalist detained while simply doing his job, which is what he studied. While a journalism student from the University of Boyer is currently detained in a colonial facility in Boyer. He's named Guy Bruno Maimo, a third-year student of journalism and mass communication, was seized while covering a women's protest on Thursday, October 24, 2024. His family and friends, who began searching for him shortly after he disappeared, only learned of his detention on Monday, October 28, 4 days after his arrest. They discovered that he was being held at the Colonial Gendarmerie headquarters in Boyer, known locally as Legion. Bruno, a correspondent for the weekly newspaper Volcanic Times, had been assigned by his editor and publisher, Chief Mbola Charles, to report on the protests. The demonstration, reported by Undaunted, involved dozens of women from Mamu, a village in Boya, demanding the release of their husbands and children who had been arrested in a recent mass operation in their community. The women marched peacefully along Boya's main boulevard, eventually forming a human barricade in form of the Colonial Gendarmerie Headquarters Legion, as it is commonly called. It is known to hold individuals arbitrarily detained from Boyer and nearby areas, and the women believed their relatives were being held there. Guy Bruno Maimo was one of the few print and broadcast reporters present to cover the protest. Well, according to Undaunted, reporters who they were faced from hostilities from colonial gendarmeries on patrol, who forcefully dispersed them. Well, unfortunately, Bruno was cornered and detained, apparently without other reporters noticing. Several protesters were also reportedly taken into custody. The protest eventually subsided after Boyer's colonial divisional officer, Abba Abdurrahman, intervened, promising to address the women's concerns despite being a non-participant. Guy Bruno Maimo became one of the protest casualties. Concerned neighbors and classmates reported Bruno's unusual absence, prompting his family to check police and gendarmerie stations throughout Boyer in search of him. Well, according to reports, the colonial gendarmes claimed Bruno's only offense was covering the protest without official authorization. In La Republic to Cameroon, journalists covering protests or any event perceived as crucial of the colonial government risks detention. Not just detention, violence, or even death. Although the country's law guarantees freedom of the press, the reality is starkly different. The journalists face constant harassment, abduction, and torture by security forces. Yesterday, we talked about this, and today is in the news again. Barrister Mbeseha. Yesterday, we gave names of journalists who have been constantly tortured. Some have lost their lives. And today, a young student journalist is in this phase. Like I said when I started the introductory part of this report, what would be the fate of students who are interested in the journalism field when even their colleague has started facing the torture of practicing journalism in La Republic to Cameroon? Barrister Mbeseha, let me get your thoughts on this.
I think, in short, there's no future for journalism in Cameroon. There's just no future for that thing. Because what is the role of a journalist? The journalist does not create news. The journalist reports news. What is the role of the journalist in the demonstrations that he was reporting? He didn't authorize the demonstration. He was not even a demonstrator. He was just a reporter. But like any other in Cameroon, as far as government is concerned, you report only what government authorizes you to report. Why this block? They know that they are doing wrong things, and they know the effect of reporting their evils to the world. But if that guy is an online journalist, you don't know where his online newspaper goes to. He can send that thing out that, according to them, will hurt the reputation of their country. So there's no future of anybody doing journalism there. But the bigger issue is this. This guy, the little boy, is being trained. He's a student. He's training to be a journalist. He's not yet a full journalist. He's just being trained. Therefore, he's coming from a school, the School of Journalism, which is part of the University of Boya. The School of Journalism and the University of Boya as a whole is a very large institution. So what are they doing? What are they saying? As a school, as an university, for this illegal arrest and detention of their own students, apparently sent out on internship. What are they saying? They keep mute. Because if you dare say it, you too will go down for it. And there are many ways they can punish you. They can also arrest you. They can as well torture you to death. Or in the absence of that, you lose your job wherever you are. And so the people are forced to keep quiet. That's one arm of it. This guy is training to be a journalist. In Boya there, I'm sure, and in Cameroon in general, you have an association of journalists. It's supposed to be a powerful association. Fight against such things. What are they doing? Nobody knew where this boy was until the parents managed to discover where he was, where he is. And so, what have the journalists done? If they cannot defend this poor boy, 23 years old, who's hoping to be a journalist tomorrow, how would they defend themselves, who are already directors? How would they have defended Wazizi? How would they have defended Martinez Zogo and all the journalists that you and me know? And so, what happened to, for example, Longue was in Cameroon. Journalists knew that because Longue told his story out. But nobody cared about it because if you mention it anymore, you're going to go. You either eliminate you as well or you are put out of action. But the story is today news because it found itself in the United States and somebody published the story out. It became news. Just as I said last week, Paul Biya's absence from his house country was not news. Paul Biya's purported death was not news. Was not something they could report, not allowed to report, until somebody from outside ventured to say Paul Biya is dead. It became news. Why? Because they could not come here and catch people and go and lock them up. If I am correct, I heard people like Eric Change, I heard people like Mbako Akuro, who claimed to have been journalists in Cameroon. And they all fled. They all fled for their own safety. So is Cameroon a place where journalism can prevail? No. And where there's no journalists, where there's no freedom of journalism, there's no freedom of expression. Where there's no freedom of expression, there's no freedom to report what you see, there is dictatorship, there is criminality unimaginable. And so the fate of this poor boy, we just hope that he gets out safe. If they release him tomorrow or the next month, or even this night, this thing has an effect on his life. How do you think he will report tomorrow? He wouldn't venture to go anywhere. If he must go somewhere, he will report the news as told to him by the administrators. Otherwise, like any other human being, he fears bodily torture. He fears for his own life. And so that's the country where we find ourselves. That's where we are forced to be. And again, the bulk of the teachers in the University of Boya, from the administration to ordinary teachers, the bulk, at least 80% of them, are English speaking. What are they doing? Keeping quiet? The Association of English Speaking Journalists, what are they doing? Just keeping quiet? So there's something frightful that everybody should be very, very worried about. Over to you.
Barrister Mbeseha, at this point, you're saying they are keeping quiet. And I'm wondering, because I'm also thinking, what can they do differently? if they are being subjected not to even report what they are supposed to report. When news are made or journalists make news, whenever they see something, they have the right to set agenda. They have the right to make news from whatever is seen in the community, in the state, in the country, and what have you. But in a situation where you're being restricted from reporting government activities that creates or that makes news, what else can they do? And also, yes, you're asking, and I'm also asking as well. I don't know who, but you have to be the one to answer. What else can they do? Because it seems their union, they are being stifled by these whole, aspects of reportage or them not being able to report as well. So, what else can they do? What do you think that they can do? Because I think that in all of this, we haven't paid critical attention to young journalists. I know what it feels like to have a dream, to want to speak, to want to write, to want to report, and then you cannot even practice in your country, as it were, or you do not have any freedom of expression, or you do not have any freedom to practice what you've studied. What can these younger people do as well? So I have here a two-in-one question. Those who are professionals in their journalist body, union, wherever they are called, what can they do differently at this point? And the young journalists who are students, who are practicing, who are still in their dreamland, hoping that one day they can be Oprah Winfrey, or one day they can be, one of a great broadcasters in the world. What can they do at this point?
Well, if you go into any trade you go in, you must know the tools that you have in your toolbox. And it takes a bold man to defeat a dictator. Why are they preventing this reporting? They don't want their things to be told out. But the journalists, and I've studied with institutions, and the journalist professionals, they have a tool in their box. Let me say the University of Boya, for example. Just all the students in the School of Journalism, maybe they are just about 100. If they all stood out and went to that place, maybe it was the senior divisional or the divisional office, in just 100 of them, the first reaction will be that they will try to catch them. But while they are trying to catch them, if they are journalists, they have cameras. They were reporting the story live. And their story reporting live, they will beat some of them. That's the sacrifice they have to do for this audience. They will lock up some of them. But that bold action, because they will not arrest 500 of you, there's no sale to keep 500 of you in Boya there. So they will try to arrest you. But the tools that you have in your toolbox.
Barrister Mbeseha, we've reported here on Undaunted where over 100 young people were arrested. Remember that particular report? So why not? If La Republic du Cameroon can arrest over 100 young people who they think are amber fighters, how much more students of about that number? So why do you think it's impossible?
Now, amber fighters, as you call them, fall in a different category of people.
No, these are young people, remember? These were young people that were wrongfully arrested.
I agree with you. They're all young people. Arrested maybe in Mamu or somewhere else. They constitute a group of people different. They are Mamu residents. They don't have the same tools within their toolbox. Like a group of 100 students in the University of Boya, or University of Bamunda, or in the university else. The university students who are being arrested have a tool within their toolbox that they can fight that nonsense. And let me give you one good example. In 1994-95, when I was in Boya, 95-96, I think, there was a governor there called Oben Peter Ashu. He was one of the greatest dictators you could find in the world. My office was just in Moloko along the road. One day, I don't know what happened in the university. The students said they were going to demonstrate in the governor's office. If you know Boya, there's all one big road going up there. And they started marching like young children, home again, singing that of choruses. The governor was trying to go to Limbe. I was driving down to go to Limbe. He heard the chanting home again, a crowd of 500 students. It was like a big market. So the governor asked, what's going on? They said, the students are coming to your office. He said, students are coming, 500. They say, yes. He feared death. What did he do? He abandoned his car there and jumped out on foot and ran into the bushes. So I'm trying to say that.
I remember that report, and I can assure you that it's not the same.
No,
The
well, I know
trajectory is
you.
quite different. Because
Yeah, I'm trying to
in as
show you
much
that.
as he was a dictator, yes, he didn't have the kind of intimidation that the journalists of today, even the
They
students,
have.
are facing.
They
Is
have. They are
wider
shot
and
and
bigger
killed.
now.
They are shot and killed people before. Again, let's take the students aside. Before this one, before Mamo, there was Bonakanda in Boya. But before Bonakanda, there was a corner where they went to a corner about a year ago, arrested a number of children playing football at the Baptist Protestant Secondary School there in a corner town. About 100 women from a corner marched on foot to Boya. And so one of the children released. They didn't live there until all the children were released. Because it becomes, you see, it needs a person who will sacrifice himself or herself to defeat a dictator. And until that happens, the dictator is going to feel buoyant, empowered. So that's the only thing they have. You cannot write a petition. The petition will go nowhere because the petition, even if you go to court, you are not in a court where the magistrate is going to give a judgment. If anyone, if that judgment does not favor them or favors them, the government will dismiss the magistrate. So as you say it, even in the Bible, violence begets violence. But you're not fighting them. You are fighting them with your mouth. Their greatest problem as a government, a dictatorship, is that people would expose them. But you have tools within their toolbox to expose them. Again, as I just said, Longe Donge was a defeated artist. He was beaten. His passport was taken. He told his story in Cameroon. Nobody listened to him. He fled away. He looked for a way to disappear as an individual. But because of the work of one person or two people in the United States who happened to have those videos, they put them out there. Now, even just on that incident alone, Cameroon is on the defense if you watch their website. So that's what I'm trying to say. Again, if the University of Boya, only university in Cameroon, has to send out the students out, maybe to do internship, or to admit them, the more they will do internship, they must be prepared to go out for their defense if they get into trouble. Because it's not going to learn internship by sleeping in campus. You have to go to Kumba, you have to go to Douala and report. And if he goes there and gets into conflict, where he's doing his job officially, he has done nothing wrong. The institution as an institution should act. Would the institution go and demonstrate? No. But a letter from the chancellor of that university to the police, whoever is holding him, the gendarme, just a letter would have a lot of meaning. These are tools that they have. And until they are prepared to use these tools, they are not going to get out of the dilemma. That's the point I'm trying to make. That boy alone, sitting there, he can do nothing. He's a small boy, 23 years old. What can he do? But he has an institution behind him that is training him to be a journalist, that is authorizing him to go report cases. He has not even put out a report that they're saying that it's the wrong report that he put out. They just arrest him for even observing to go and report. So if they don't come up to his defense, is it worth the trouble going to that school or going to be a journalist in Cameroon in the first place? Certainly not. If the newspapers or the reporting company or whatever thing, the group of people called journalists, will not stand up with one leg, one mouth, and fight for one of the years, especially the helpless one like a little boy, is it worth practicing journalism there? Certainly not. That's a bad fact. If you're thinking that the dictator will bend to you, or you're clapping hands to him or to her, you're wasting your time. The dictator only fears when you do something that will hurt them. That's the bottom line. That's what I would recommend. They may not accept from me, but that's the only way out.
Oh, I would have continued this particular conversation because I just want to give every one of them that, should I say, authority that it is possible. But I just also remember that there is a ban on protest. So students coming out in their numbers to go protest is another form of trouble, don't you think?
No, there's always trouble there. You will come out and get into trouble. First, for the first thing, why you get into trouble is that your institution is not coming to your defense. I remember I've said here many times before, these crises that we have in here, they started with the students of the University of Buya. By law, the police, the gendarmes, the military cannot go into the campus of any university unless they are authorized by the rector of the university. So this woman, who was now the Minister of Secondary Education, took upon herself, as the director as the chancellor of the university, invited the police and the rest as an institution. They came there and raped the girls, tortured them. They are now, all of us see the pictures. The university cannot come out to say, well, we authorize that. They are ashamed. So a student, as a student, individual student, you are powerless. But the school to which you belong, the institution to which you belong, is your root. They are your own arms, they are your own feet. So if students are going out to march, you cannot even just go out to march from the university because you'll be missing classes. Unless the university realizes that, well, our students are there marching for something valuable. If they have been out for one day, they have missed classes, maybe we'll have make-up classes for that. If this institution to which you belong is not defending you, you are, as an individual, you will do very little. And again, I think I've told this story here before. When that university opened in Bogade, it was a very good university. And we know, you're a woman, in most universities in Cameroon, a girl will not pass an exam until she sleeps with the teacher. There was a girl there in that school, I will not mention her names. There was a girl who refused to sleep with the teacher. The teacher failed her the course. And this girl was one of the few. She said, no, I'm not taking this nonsense. She filed a petition. At the time there was a row in the university. She filed a petition that she had failed because this man failed her. The university investigated, ordered the guy to come for the investigation. He went as a university professor. They found him liable and he was sanctioned for what he did to the girl. Because he did not believe it, he came to me to console me to bring an action against the university for wrongfully sanctioning him. These are facts. What did I do? I took a look at the file, I saw the judgment from the disciplinary council. I said, well, this is what happened. This is what you are found guilty of. We're going to court anyway. But when we go to court, this story will become public because we've tendered this evidence. This girl will come there and tell her story. The people who sat in the council and sanction you will come there and justify what they did. And so this story will no longer be the story of the university. It will be reported in the press. It will be reported everywhere in the world. And you might never find a job somewhere else if you go to for a job. If you like this, I'm just doing my job. These are the options open to you. She will proceed with the case. You say, well, brother, you can leave it. So I'm just trying to show you those things, those institutions are there. Those once in a while, one boy I started was like that there. And I handled a case like that. The institution sanctioned the teacher for doing what was wrong. And we were prepared to go to court. They didn't stop. I don't know what they're doing now. But that was an incident where the university as a block stood behind a weak student, a weak member of their own community, a girl, any other student. If you don't go and sleep with this guy, you'll never pass. If that had, I'm sure, when that guy went to school, back to school, he's even dead now, he probably will never have tried that thing again. And many other guys who were falling victim to that nonsense would have realized that there was a way out for you to fight this nonsense. That's the truth. So again, what I'm trying to say is that the institutions must be able to come out and defend you because you as an individual, these children, they're just children. They're not me. They are not you. 22 years old, they are young children. What strength do they have? The strength of the student is the group, the classes refusing this, the teacher will change. You, the individual student, you cannot change the teacher. The class can change the teacher within hours. If they continue, and it happened in Boya, the next thing that they will transfer the chancellor away. because the group as a student is demonstrating against his or her administration. So we must know the power of the group. Again, as I've said, you sitting there, me sitting here, or the poor little boy, 22 years old, as anywhere can do nothing. But the group acting as students, authorized by the institution, will do a lot. That boy should not go through that. Over to you.
Oh well, we just hope that he gets released, or else I just hope that the
No,
university
I'm sure
will.
that I'm sure he will release because the story is already out there. He will release, but should not have gone through that.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha. Now talking about, well, that is arrest. This particular report, we are yet to agree if it was a kidnap or is an arrest. Remember the subdivisional officer for Idabato. Oh, well, he was taken by armed men in the dead of the night. Mr. Ewane Roland, a prominent representative of the colonial government in the southern Cameroon, was seized around 12:15 a.m. Now, this incident underscores the disturbing pattern in which officials aligned with La République du Cameroon regime ultimately find themselves isolated and expendable once they are no longer in use to the powers they serve. So the pirates who kidnapped Ewane Roland, the divisional officer of Idabato, and the municipal accountant issued their ransom demands in no uncertain terms. They called for an extraordinary sum of 1.9 billion francs CFA, along with 10 generators and a 200 horsepower boat, setting a firm deadline for compliance. A source from the Cameroon's news agency confirmed that the captors expressed openness to negotiation but made it clear that they would not tolerate delays from the Cameroonian government. As the deadline approached yesterday, there was no indication of meaningful response or engagement from La République du Cameroon to secure Mr. Roland's release. Instead, the government's action has been anything but reassuring for the people of Idabato. Rather than pursuing diplomatic channels or negotiating for the safety of their own officials, the colonial authorities enacted a punitive shutdown of Idabato's businesses, targeting Nigerian-owned establishments under the pretext that Nigerians were responsible for the abduction. This drastic shutdown has only served to heighten tensions in the community, with over 90% of Idabato's population being neighboring Nigeria's nationals. The shutdown has left the people feeling victimized and further marginalized by the very government meant to protect them. The residents, along with neighboring towns, have voiced their frustration and concern, suggesting that this move will only stroke xenophobic sentiments and fuel resentment. The complete silence from the Republic to Cameroon and their failures to negotiate a resolution sends a clear signal. Officials who operate on behalf of the colonial regime are likely to not expect loyalty or intervention when they find themselves in peril. Those who serve the interests of La Republic de Cameroon in southern Cameroon are, in essence, disposable assets abandoned the moment they become a liability. And yet they say normalcy has returned. Well, the current crisis underscores an unsettling reality for those who align themselves with the colonial government. The actions taken by La Republic de Cameroon since the deadline past seem less like steps to ensure Mr. Roland's safe return and more like a callous maneuver that could provoke the pirates further. The government's inaction and heavy-handedness measures only amplifies the narrative of betrayal and disposability that follows those who serve a regime indifferent to their well-being. Should we talk about Moja Moja? Well, as of today, there has been no word on Mr. Roland's condition or any visible efforts from the colonial regime to secure his release. The residents of Idabato, especially the neighboring Nigerian majority, are left to wonder if his abandonment will be the fate of anyone who serves a government that views them as expendable. Meanwhile, La Republic de Cameroon's actions seem as set to deepen divisions and escalate tensions in a region already suffering under the weight of colonial oppression. Barrister Mbeseha, you've been a part and parcel of this particular debate on this report. I remember clearly, vividly, when you said this ransom is placed on government, but you doubt the government will do something. Yesterday, when those kidnappers said yesterday was the deadline, we were expecting that by today we'd see something surface from the news. But here we are, wondering what the fate of this Mr. Roland would be. At this junction, what would you say?
I would say for a takeoff that there's a crisis there, but the whole thing was from day one poorly managed by the Yaoundé regime. First, these are people in the creeks. Piracy is common in the creeks. The pirates could come from Equatorial Guinea, could come from anywhere else, but they themselves say they were pirates. And so, if 5 pirates, 10 pirates, 50 pirates come and do something to a deal or whoever there, what's the responsibility of other residents? People just live there. Are they the pirates? Certainly not. So why are you attempting to punish innocent people for the acts of people you know very well that they're not responsible? So bringing threats to the Nigerian community living there is a misguided approach to the problem. One.
But
Secondly,
let me ask you a realistic question. The ransom that they are asking for, you made it clear that this ransom is not going to be provided by the family. Of course, it's definitely not by the family. Do you think that it's a whole lot for the government to do for an individual that serves in their government?
No. I was coming to that particular thing. The fact that I told them one of my country boys just died there. He was just killed. They didn't have to end the ransom. They attacked him, killed him, and we found only his dead body and buried him. The fact that these pirates, are asking for a ransom, no matter the amount, means that in the uninterested, they are interested in negotiating the return of whoever is called the due. Because a ransom, give us 20 billion is a price. You can't say, okay, I can give 5, I can give 2. You are negotiating. Again, the bigger picture is that Yaoundé agrees that this man is the personal representative of the head of state. He's a chef d'etat. In fact, he's President Paul Biya in Idabato. If he is truly what they claim he is now in the hands of the enemy, he should be able to take his phone. He should be able to tell his captors, oh, give me the phone. Let me talk to the head of state. They are present here. That will facilitate your journey. But there is a man having the number of the minister. He has no number. Although he runs around there with his khaki shirt saying that he's the personal representative of the head of state. You don't know him. He doesn't exist in the system. And so it is diplomacy. I said it here before. Asking for ransom is not new, not even to Yaoundé, because they had paid ransom to Boko Haram to release not even a government official. The person they captured was the wife of the President of the National Assembly, his wife, not the President of the National Assembly. They paid ransom to save her life, the wife of a government official. Now, this is a government official himself, his own life, the personal representative of the head of state. You remember, the Speaker of the National Assembly does not even represent the head of state. In terms of protocol and power, he's not even as strong as the duo, because he probably does not even have the number of the head of state. So the chef d'etat, who represents the head of state, who is again President Paul Biya in Idabato, or anywhere else, is taken into captivity. Compare it to the Boko Haram thing they paid to release the wife of the House Speaker. And therefore, they have experience in dealing with terrorists. They have experience in negotiating ransoms, even with the most detested groups of people in the world, including Boko Haram, which is a worldwide recognized terrorist group. So the ball is in their court. They are not, again, I said here, they are not expecting the adopters are not expecting the family, the poor farmers or these parents who are poor cocoa farmers or bean farmers somewhere in the village to go and pay them 1 million. They are addressing their bosses. They know they've gotten the prize. They've gotten the gold and silver. They've gotten the prize that can bring them money. And so, if they are not paying it, if they are not doing it, by my own opinion, it is simply because this guy is an Ambazonian. He has no worth. If that guy had been the daughter, had been Blender, Biya, and asked for a jet, they would give the jet. They would have long since brought her back. Why the brain of Biya? She's just the daughter of the head of state. She's not a government minister. She's not a personal representative of the government. And so they are leaving this man to suffer there or to die if they so wish to kill him, just because he is inconsequential. And I've said it before. How many Bulu people, how many Ekang people, all of them, because they found the majority of deals, how many of them have listened to Idabato? And to that high-risk area. You find that guy who was standing in Boya there, Abraham somebody, who was a deal of Boya, that was talking to those demonstrators. Is that an Anglophone? It's one of them. Because Boya is a comfortable place where if you are Boya, you can be the chairman or the board of the CDC or something and get more money. They send their umbrellas there. They send us to the high risk zone. Why is Idabato, Bakassi, a high risk area today? I said it last time and I repeat it here. It is because Yaoundé refused to live up to the onside of the 2006 Green Tree Agreement. You were supposed to develop that place, bring life livable there. Piracy would not be there if there had been enough security in the whole area. Pirates operate in the sea because nobody is catching them. Again, when they took this guy and they were running away in their flying boat, the duo, his own security, they had not even the bicycle. They could even ride in the ocean anyway. There was nothing to follow them, even to try to chase them. I find among the demands of the pirates, they want the government of Cameroon to provide them more flying boats. I don't know how many million to empower their activities there. So we find out that it is the government of Cameroon is responsible for this man's health. At least they have told us officially it is not diplomatic. If they could negotiate with Nigeria, because the pirates are from Nigeria, according to them, if they could negotiate with Nigeria to fly planes to Abuja to have captured the Naira 10. If they could fly planes to Taraba and capture 137 members of Amazonians with the complicity of the government of Cameroon, Nigeria, that's diplomacy. They should be able now, through that same diplomatic channel, to go bring their own duo. The Naira 10 were just ordinary people. No, there was a government official. The Taraba 37 or whatever number was there were just ordinary refugees. No, there was a government official. But they were to go and bring them officially using diplomatic channels to capture them and bring them to Yaoundé. And as you speak, I hear, it can be verified, they are able to send several people to Oslo in Norway to go make diplomacy and extradite Choyaba to them. So they are used to diplomacy. They use the same efforts that they are trying to bring Choyaba and try them in their courts. That they went to Nigeria and brought the Naira 10. That they went to Nigeria and brought the Taraba 37. They use that very diplomatic prowess that they have and release the personal representative of the head of state. If they are not doing it, I will hold them accountable, and I insist they are accountable because they should release that guy. 1. 2, because they have provided the conditions for his arrest. The same to war risk area without protection for him. What was his crime? Just because he went to Undam and he happened to be Anglophone. They knew he could die. One of mine had died there. They sent him there. They didn't bring him. Or at least we held morally accountable for his death if he doesn't return. Over to you.
Well, Rest Mbeseha, thank you so much for analyzing that particular report in depthly, and we'll definitely see to it, like we promised Ambazonians, that whatever report we bring would have definitely have follow-ups, and so we'll definitely do this. All of this is so that Ambazonians can realize that all of this push is towards getting their transition period safely and then moving into Boya. But Barrister Mbeseha, this is where I'll let you go, knowing that I'm going to call on you again tomorrow and Thursday for another edition of Undaunted. But for now, I'll let you go just so that I can give news across Africa and news across the globe.
Thanks a lot for having me.
You're welcome. Coming up next is news across Africa. Well, during President Emmanuel Macron's state visit to Morocco, he and Moroccan King Mohammed VI signed agreement worth approximately 10 billion euros, I beg your pardon, threatening cooperation in investment, energy, and infrastructure. Key among these deals is the supply of up to 18 high-speed train cars by French rail manufacturer Alstom to Morocco, symbolizing a deeper commitment to shared economic growth. Furthermore, Morocco's phosphate office and France energy company EGI have set the groundwork for potential investment up to 3.5 billion euros in energy ventures. Former French colonies in Africa often carry a legacy of strained ties with France. So, what could this new relationship between Morocco and France bring about? Macron's visit comes after France made a significant policy shift, endorsing Morocco's autonomy plan for the Western Sahara, a territory claimed by both Morocco and the Algeria-supported Polisario Front for nearly 5 decades. Macron described Morocco's autonomy proposal as the only basis for a just, lasting, and negotiated political solution, a move that garnered praise from Rabat after years of diplomatic tension. Despite Morocco's control over much of the Western Sahara, the United Nations classifies it as a non-self-governing territory, which complicates Morocco's sovereignty claim. Moroccan's endorsement not only signals a turning point in Franco-Moroccan relation, but may also impact Algeria, a key player in the Western Sahara conflict. The partnership between France and Morocco, however, raises present questions. Can this alliance transform France's image in Africa, where its historical influence is still viewed critically, or will it reinforce existing divides in North African geopolitics? Let's see what Somaliland holds this November. Now, the upcoming presidential election in Somaliland on the 13th of November is pivotal in shaping the nation's pursuit of international recognition and independence. Amid debate surrounding a contentious port agreement with Ethiopia, which promises sea access for Addis Ababa and could lead to Ethiopian recognition of Somaliland and its statehood, the election highlights both local and regional stakes. The ruling Kumiye party, led by President Muse Abdi Bihi, champions this agreement and his historical push for Somaliland recognition. Meanwhile, the opposition Wadani party, led by Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdullahi, promises a broader diplomatic approach, focusing on alliance across Africa and the global south, if victorious. The election also underscores the need for inclusivity, with Wadani forming a coalition with the Car Association, aiming to address clan grievances and strengthen unity in Somaliland, the eastern region, which have faced instability regardless of the outcome. Both parties remain committed to Somaliland's independence, though tensions with Somalia over Ethiopia deal raises the risk of escalating regional instability. A transparent and peaceful election will be essential in reinforcing Somaliland's image as a stable democratic entity. What about Sudan? The ongoing conflict in Sudan between military forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces has spiraled into a humanitarian catastrophe marked by severe food insecurity, violence, and displacement, according to a report by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Addressing the UN Security Council, Guterres warned that the conflict, now in its 18th month, poses a security and serious threat to regional stability, potentially impacting the Sahel, the Horn of Africa, and the Red Sea. Since April 2023, Sudan has witnessed atrocities ranging from mass killing and sexual violence to large-scale displacement. Recent attacks in Gizira province by the RSF forces resulted in over 120 civilian deaths, with reports of brutal sexual violence. North Darfur's placement sites, where famine conditions have been reported, are especially vulnerable, and both the military and RSF are accused of targeting civilians. The conflict has displaced over 11 million people, with 3 million fleeing to neighboring countries, marking Sudan as the site of world's worst displacement crisis. The legacy of ethnic violence in Darfur, infamous for genocide by the Janjaweed militias 2 decades ago, has resurfaced with ongoing ethnic violence in the region. The International Criminal Court is investigating potential war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by both sides in Darfur. Guterres has called for an immediate ceasefire, civilian protection, and accountability for violence of international law. Coming up next is news across the globe. Donald Trump's recent rally at the Madison Square Garden has sparked controversy as he doubled down on his promise of a massive deportation program to reverse what he calls an immigrant invasion. This move is part of his bid for a second White House term, leveraging anti-migrant fear to galvanize support. However, the rallying opening act, comprising donors, entertainers, and MAGA politicians, ignited a last-minute campaign fear. The event saw local Trump loyalists airing grievances against familiar targets, including Vice President Kamala Harris, who was labeled the Antichrist by a failed Republican House candidate, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, also targeted Puerto Rico, which has a significant population in New York City and battleground Pennsylvania, where Harris campaigned on Sunday. Critics argue that Trump's stance on immigration is more about theater than solutions. His refusal to support comprehensive border security bills and instead promoting fear and division has raised concerns among Democrats and moderate Republicans. In contrast, Kamala Harris has proposed pragmatic solutions, including resurrecting a bipartisan border bill and providing human solutions for migrants, such as a pathway to citizenship for dreamers. As the 2024 election approaches, immigration and border security remain contentious issues. Voters must choose between Trump's fear-driven approach and Harris' approach. Well, we'll definitely keep updating you with that. Meanwhile, South Korea's Star Wars project is a laser weapon system designed to destroy North Koreans' drones and potentially larger targets. The project, led by Defense Acquisition Program and the Howard Aerospace, has developed a laser anti-aircraft weapon called Block I, capable of precision strikes on small drones and multi-copters at close range. The Block I system works by tracking a drone's trajectory via radar and irradiating it at the laser for 10-20 seconds, applying heat energy exceeding 700 degrees centigrade to disable the target. This technology is silent, invisible, and cost-effective, with each shot costing approximately $1.45. South Korea plans to deploy the Block I system in 2024, making it the first country to operate laser weapon aimed and armed forces. Future developments aim to extend the system's range to counter aircraft and ballistic missiles. The Stars War project demonstrates South Korea's potential in advanced military technology, particularly in counter drone warfare. Meanwhile, BRICS Summit hosts Russian President Vladimir Putin's disappointed both anti-colonial enthusiasts and Western alarmists last week by conceding that the bloc members have not built and are not building a payment system to challenge the US dollar-based global banking system. The leaders of the two economic giants present at the summit. China's Xi Jinping and India's Narendra Modi did not mention alternative payment arrangements in their respective remarks. The technical requirements for alternative payment system aren't the problem. The SWIFT system that controls interbank payments in dollars and other major Western currencies merely transmits secure messages. The challenge, rather, is economic. US demand for import fuels an outsized portion of economic growth in the global south. China's exports to the US amounts to just 2.3% of its GDP, but about half of its surge in exports to the global south since 2020 depends on reports to the United States. And with that report, we've come to the end of tonight Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at what made the major highlights. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that a fire incident at Mile 17 Motorpark has left trail of destruction, and Dumbareros still escalating conflict over grazing rights. This time around, the Sang village felt it. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that student journalist is in colonial dungeon for reporting on the women's protest in Boya. While on the African scene, we talked about Morocco's partnership with France, thinking if it will rewrite colonial legacies. And Trump unveiling the most extreme closing argument in mud. Well, that's it for tonight Undaunted. On behalf of the technical crew who has made tonight Undaunted very practicable, we say thank you for tuning in. We leave you with ABC Images. Good night and God bless.